Okay, Sony wants you to spend $700 on a new console, so obviously the internet is not happy. This is basically just a massive case of sticker shock of a product not making sense, and all of that in a world where everything seems to cost more, and frankly, people have lost quite a lot of trust in Sony. Now, their ask is simple, but here's the crazy thing. Their ask actually came with an admission that honestly validates something that I've been thinking and pushing for years. Here it is. 75% of players use performance mode on the PS5. 75%. And again, that is with most games defaulting you to quality mode, or at least like giving you the option on boot, usually with the selector defaulting to quality. And I think this is a really big admission. It means that 60 FPS matters, not just a bunch of people on the internet saying, 60 FPS is best, it's the patrician choice, don't be wooed by pixels. No, this is consumers setting things on their console. And that means whenever Starfield or Avowed basically say, no, we want to do 30 FPS on launch, especially in a single player game, well, we can basically say, hey guys, there's a reason why over in the PS5, we actually have public data as to what people choose, and it's frame rate. And the funny thing is, this is PlayStation almost saying that a large segment of their audience, I don't want to say disagrees with their marketing, but basically so much of their marketing has been about quality, ray tracing. Look at the Spider-Man with his ray traced reflection on the puddle and window. They do all of that. What do consumers choose? To turn that off and to have frames. And that actually does get relevant to Sony's pitch. Their pitch is that if you have a PS5, you probably use performance mode. They know you use performance mode, so they're trying to say, you can have the performance of performance mode and the quality of quality mode at the same time. And that's basically what the new console is going to do. Going through specs is simple. There's a beefier GPU with 67% more compute units and 28% faster memory. They say that brings a 45% performance uplift, though in so many cases with a quality mode, the thing that'll actually matter is not the overall performance, but what the bottleneck is. And so often that bottleneck, and you know if you've accidentally turned it on in a game you play, it's ray tracing. On that, you've got double to triple the ray tracing performance of the PS5, and they've got PSSR, which is basically just machine learning based upscaling. Some custom stuff that they've done with AMD, which to be honest, I would imagine would be quite good based on the quality of their upscaling stuff in the past. The thing we actually care about though is the games. So 8,500 PS4 games will get a frame rate or stability boost, and some will get better image quality, and the same basically will go for PS5 games. That's really good, but it could be a goddamn nightmare, especially as PC gamers, we're used to the idea of more horsepower just equals more frames. That's obviously not the case here. So as an example, if you went and bought, say, the Spyro remaster, you'll be disappointed to know that that's a 30 FPS lock. So because of that, I'm pretty glad they're implementing a PS5 Pro enhanced sticker. Let's hope it actually gets used and communications are good. Let's blast through the rest of the specs though. It's got the same dimensions pretty much as the PS5, but an absolute game changer. 3 strips. Yeah, 3. So if you see someone with 3 strips in their PlayStation, you know they're a serious gamer. Anyway, Wi-Fi 7, compatibility with all PS5 accessories, but not covers, no disk drive, but a 2TB SSD, Astro's Playroom, and DualSense, and all of that for $699, 699 pounds, which is quite painful, or 799 euros, which will absolutely suck in some countries specifically. But, right, what if you want to put it vertically? Well, the vertical stand will cost you $30. What if you want to play games that come in a disc, which is probably loads of your games? Well, that's going to cost you another $80. And that means the complete feature set is $809. And like, yeah, you could totally skimp on a disc drive, but if you do, you're locked into buying digital games only. And that means you lose out on the retailer, like, price discounts and stuff. So you'll end up paying way more money than the cost of the disc drive in the long run. And that's basically it, which means, yeah, this one's went down about as well as you would think. The easiest place to go is Jeff Keighley's poll. So it had 66% of its 86k voters say that this, in fact, was D tier. Very much unlike the shitposting though, the shitposting has been top tier with this one. And no wonder. This is objectively expensive even in the US market, and Sony's take on global exchange rates is interesting. I can't say I'm a fan. Now, the fidelity increase will be noticeable, like in real life in a 4K TV. Do you know where it won't be noticeable? On a YouTube stream, which is where they show this off, and this is the exact same thing that happened with the PS4 Pro years back. You try to pixel peep, but basically it's pointless because of encoding. And it also doesn't help that the rest of the market's where it is. I mean, this is 2/3 of a reasonable gaming PC. When you're spending this amount of money, I think people are willing to say, you know what, maybe I skimp a little bit in the graphics card, but I just get myself a PC that I can have for a decade, that I can upgrade and can actually go the distance. Also, it's more than an OLED deck. It's more than a ROG Ally. So if you've got a PS4, I mean, you could just spend less money to get a different experience. And surely different experience is what counts, not just the same experience. That's the kicker for me. I get 60 FPS on performance mode on games right now. I lose some visuals, but that's basically fine. I'm playing this on a television from a distance. It's not like I'm on my PC where, like, yeah, I can't straight up pixel peep and see the detail differences. Yet that's their sell. Something that I won't always notice and basically don't care about. Now, the 9-minute trailer they did was fronted by the longtime tech wizard, Mark Cerny, and he's awesome. He has shipped amazing products. People like him, people respect him, and it focuses on how good the PS5 is. But it says, hey, imagine playing The Last of Us Part 2 PS5 edition with quality and performance at the same time. Let's not mention how people have already played that game twice, once in the PS4 and again in the PS5. Honestly, not a great sales pitch, fellas. And there's the release timing, November 7th. That does kind of make sense, but is there game support for that that's really going to show off the power of this console? And I say that because the only AAAs after that point are Assassin's Creed Shadows and Marvel Rivals. There's no big first-party title from Sony that basically says, hey, this is what a PS5 Pro can do. This is going to blow your mind. They don't have that unless they do some sort of shadow drop, right? There's nothing that pushes the limits here. There's nothing that gives you a new reason, because if you're a Sony fan, you already have a PS5. You've already played those first-party games, and you've probably played them at 60 FPS. Are you really going to play them again? Be excited to buy a new console to play them again at the same frame rate with a few more shinies? And that raises the question, who the hell is this thing for? Well, to talk about who this is for, we should probably mention the guy who's actually had hands-on, and currently, the only person is CNET Scott Stein. Here's the deal. He says that about 40 to 50 games will have an upgrade patch on launch, and these will target 4K 60, volumetric lighting, and new modes for 120 FPS, that could be interesting, and 8K. Yes, 8K. Utterly useless. That's it, though. And basically, he said that when you actually just talk about the specs, talk about the features, he thinks it's going to be a really tough sell, though he does say that it's going to demo pretty well in person, which I'd say is not dissimilar to the PS4 Pro. It was a funny little thing. It accounted for 13% of PS4 sales and 15% of revenue. But here's the deal. Unlike the base PS4, the base PS5 can hit 60 FPS in most games. So, I don't know, to me, it's hard to logically justify. You could get a PS4 Pro and it would be basically still be giving you 30 FPS, but it would often be way higher resolution, way better visuals, and just more stable. But what we learned from the PS5 is that people care about playability more. That's the bar that's actually been raised. And this is a new product that's not raising that bar. And so that means figuring out what their plan is even weirder. Here's another part, and this matters a lot. The base PS5 is not getting any cheaper. Back in the day, they would absolutely bargain bin, slash the prices of consoles to pieces. And the whole reason was economies of scale, right? GPUs were just getting made and made and made and made. There was the fab space, yada, yada, yada. That's actually not happened this time, though. One of Sony's executives said that much earlier this year, basically, that the unit economics on making a PS5 are too damn tight. And that means they cannot increase the size of their install base faster by just cutting their prices, because I suppose they don't want to just start burning revenue. And that pairs with something that's goddamn brutal. 50% of the player base is on PS4. And to me, that's a shocker. I cannot imagine playing in a PS4 because, I mean, come on, 30 FPS, bad experience, but still, that is the case. Now, if the 50% who are on PS4s have somehow not been convinced by the PS5 itself, by the games that are only in the PS5, by the performance, or by the quality, then will the Pro do the same thing? I would say probably not. Yes, some people will cave, they'll leapfrog. This will finally be the time to upgrade, but that couldn't be their only target market. And so if they're basically realizing that right now they're doing this whole big premium play, they think that's been working for them, and seemingly PS4 people are not moving over, what can they do? Well, they need to appeal to the superfans, right? The people who actually bought a PS5 upgrade copy of The Last of Us Part 2. You see, these days, there's 3 letters that really matter, and those are ASP. average sale price. Because why buy an iPhone 16 when you can buy an iPhone 16 Pro Max? And I bring that up for good reason. So often you see tech influencers basically say these new features are great, whatever, but honestly, buy the Pro from last year or just buy the base 16. You don't need those new features. And yet, it's the Pros that outsell. And so there's a trend in consumer electronics that the top end is just getting higher and more people are climbing up the price ladder. And that's why their whole pitch was basically, PS5 is awesome. You can have the best graphics ever, or you can have amazing frame rates. But now you can have both. And so I think they've got two safe bet audiences, but even with that, there's a high chance they could struggle. The problem with their 75% choose performance pitch is that 75% choose performance. They're already willing to say, actually, I'd rather do performance. I don't care about the quality as much. And the key sell about this machine is quality. It is saying you don't have to make the compromise, but that assumes it's a painful compromise. I do not think it is. And I think that's why people are basically mocking the entire thing. The thing that's being sold to them is not something they really care about. So if not them, what about new audiences? Sony have even said before that with the PS4 Pro, they had loads of new customers. But today is not then. Console sales are already slowing, right? The growth is slowing. How many untapped customers are there out there? I don't think as many as they think. And that means we're left with two camps. Leapfroggers who are moving away from the PS4 to the PS5 and would rather just buy the thing that feels the most future-proofed. And then the superfans who'll lap up anything unless it's Concord. And that's the problem. The basics don't resonate and it plays straight into the existing frustration that Sony basically say, we're the premium kings, and it feels like they take their position for granted. That being said, a word of caution, maybe there are things they know that we don't. Sometimes it only takes one game to make a massive shift in your hardware sales. As an example, the cheapest way to get EA Sports College Football was an Xbox Series S. And when that game came out and did absolutely amazing in sales, Series S spiked. Are you thinking what I'm thinking then? Grand Theft Auto 6. GTA 6 is potentially the largest entertainment release ever. It's one of those games that will sell 50 million copies. That seems like a completely insane thing to say, but no, it's GTA. It could sell 50 million copies. And GTA 6 is a game that will launch unlike GTA 5. Whenever GTA 5 came out, it was running on an Xbox 360. They had to do wizardry with the hard drive to make the asset stream. Here, it's going to strain a PS5. It will be a game that will take every single ounce of horsepower that you can throw at it. And unless anything changes, there won't be an Xbox Pro. And that means that the best place to play the biggest entertainment release of the decade will be the PS5 Pro. You might be thinking about PC, but remember, it's not coming out on PC until later. Plus, sometimes markets are just strange. I mean, most of us mocked, say, the PS Portal, but it's actually ended up selling really well for Sony. And then there's the Apple thing. It may seem completely insane that people are just always buying the Pro Max phones when, really, they probably aren't using all of those features. But here's the thing. Say the new iPhone release. I looked at that and I thought, oh, the little camera control that they have that's like physical hardware. Oh, that actually probably means I could capture some better shots of my dog when I'm home, or family, or things like that. And that gives me an emotional reason. And then there's the trend of ultra high-end products continually doing well. I mean, we've even seen that in the GPU market. That being said, I just don't know if the audience exists for this because of the specific sell. It just doesn't seem as compelling to me. But where I think this can make sense is the bigger context. I have a feeling that if they do things right here, this could give them a major leap up over Xbox. And here's why that kind of makes sense. So the PS5 Pro will feed knowledge of development, technology into the PS6, and it's going to help PlayStation's further multi-platform plans. Mark Cerny told CNET about working with AMD on new ray tracing tech that has not even released on their PC cards. He said this, it's specifically helping us with PS5 Pro because the games are on high-end PCs, so they can look at what they did for several $1,000 PCs and they can pick and choose what to bring to the PS5 Pro. And that kind of means that for them, some of the boundary between PC and PlayStation for fidelity and stuff, that could get thinner. But the real trick here is that a lot of this is not a replacement play. It's basically another part of an ecosystem the PlayStation are kind of scrabbling to build so that they have got the widest appeal possible. They currently exist in a market where component costs mean they cannot do a volume play with the PS5 unless they basically end up losing way too much money on it. So they're probably not hinging their whole success on this, and chances are they want the learnings from this to help them defeat Xbox again with the PlayStation 6. Because let's be real, Xbox are a part of Microsoft. Both are not particularly trusted right now, and both have been shown to make pretty damn short-term decisions that seem transparently a bad idea in the long term. So that could be Sony's play. I don't think this will set the world on fire. I do think this is a niche product, and I think if they wanted this to be bigger, they needed a new emotional reason, something new, exciting that this could do that other stuff couldn't, and they just haven't found that key selling point. What do you think? Would you actually consider buying this? Let me know, and I'll see you again shortly.